Okay, let's dive into this. You may be scrolling through Telegram, right? Checking groups, seeing what's up.
Yeah, pretty standard stuff for a lot of people.
But here's something wild. On that exact same app, there's this, well, enormous criminal marketplace just thriving.
Hmm.
Since 2022, an unbelievable $8.4 billion has moved through just one of these outfits, Shinbi Guarantee.
8.4 billion. It's kind of hard to wrap your head around that scale, especially on a mainstream app.
It really is. So that's our deep dive today. We're looking into Shinbi Guarantee,
Okay.
trying to understand, how it works, what exactly they're selling or facilitating,
Right.
and what it tells us about, well, online crime today and how this digital dirty money moves around.
And this guarantee model is key, isn't it? Like Jinbi, and there's Huoni too, which people might have heard of.
Exactly. Think of them as middlemen. They hold the crypto, usually cryptocurrency, until the buyer and seller of something illegal are both happy.
So it builds a kind of fake trust in a place where there's obviously none, really.
Precisely. It's like an escrow service for the underworld, solving that basic problem of how criminals can transact with strangers online.
Yeah, it's a pretty clever, if nefarious adaptation for the digital age.
Right. Now, the really interesting thing here, unlike, say, Silk Road back in the day,
Yeah.
hidden away on Tor,
Uh-huh, the dark web stuff.
Jinbi is just out there. It
Yeah.
operates entirely within regular Telegram channels and group chats.
Wow, so really accessible then.
Totally. Millions use the app daily. And the scale inside Jinbi. Over 233,000 registered users.
That accessibility is a huge factor. It lowers the tech barrier, for buyers and sellers of illegal stuff. They're already on the platform.
And the range of things on offer.
Yeah.
It's staggering, like a giant illegal department store.
Okay, so what kind of things are we talking about?
Well, the sources say Tether, USDT, that stablecoin, that's the main currency pretty much.
All right, that's common in these circles.
But then you've got channels selling stolen ID databases, fake passports that apparently look really convincing. Even point-and-click phishing kits, like ready-to-go tools for launching cyber attacks.
That points to a sort of professionalization, doesn't it? It's not just individuals, it's a whole marketplace providing tools.
Yeah, and get this, here's where it gets even weirder. They're selling Starlink satellite terminals.
Starlink. Like Elon Musk's satellite internet.
The very same. And apparently, criminal groups in remote areas of Southeast Asia are buying them.
Wow. Okay, that suggests some pretty sophisticated, globally dispersed operations needing reliable, maybe untraceable internet access.
Exactly. It paints a picture.
It really does.
But there's more. The sources list channels offering money mules.
Ah, people whose bank accounts are used to launder money, often without them even knowing, or they're forced into it.
Right. Makes tracing the cash way harder. Plus, things like nationwide household registration records from China.
For identity theft, presumably.
Yeah. And even muscle for hire in China, threats of violence.
So, real-world harm facilitated online.
Definitely. And really disturbingly, exploitative stuff like escort services and these surrogacy arrangements being advertised. It shows the breadth of the harm.
So it's not just cybercrime. It's a hub supporting all kinds of illegal activity.
And apparently, navigating it all is surprisingly easy within Telegram.
Yeah.
Just tapping between channels.
Like window shopping.
Researchers literally called it a one-stop shopping mall for crime, which feels pretty accurate, unfortunately.
That user-friendliness, mimicking legitimate apps, that's a big part of its success, I'd imagine. A disturbing kind of convenience.
And the growth rate, just unbelievable.
Yeah.
In the last 3 months of 2024, over $1 billion in transactions just on Jinbi.
$1 billion in one quarter. That shows how fast this is moving, how efficient these Telegram markets have become.
And if you add Jinbi's volume to Cryon's, researchers say together they just dwarf the old darknet markets like Silk Road.
Right. That really highlights the shift. Crime has moved onto mainstream platforms in a big way.
A huge way.
It's a critical change. Lower barriers to entry, massive potential user base. And it's tough for law enforcement to shut down completely because it's so spread out.
And this isn't abstract crime, right? The money trail leads to real incidents. Remember that big hack of the WazirX crypto exchange in India, July 2024?
Vaguely, yeah. Big Indian exchange.
Well, a few months later, November 12th to be exact, about $220,000 in stolen USDT from that hack popped up in wallets linked directly to Jinbi.
Okay, so a clear money laundering connection right there. Converting stolen crypto.
And it gets potentially more serious. Elliptic, the researchers who found a lot of this,
Uh-huh.
they've also linked Jinbi payment flows to money laundering by North Korean state-sponsored hackers.
Whoa. Okay. State actors using these platforms, that's another level.
Yeah, apparently they're increasingly using stablecoins like USDT to move money around after their hacks.
That connection definitely elevates the threat. We're not just talking about regular cyber criminals anymore.
And another big customer group, those Southeast Asian pig butchering scam operations.
Ah, the romance scams that build trust over time and then drain victims' savings. Horrible stuff.
Exactly. And they're using Jinbi not just to launder the money they steal,
But also to buy resources for the scam.
you got it. Things like scam scripts, playbooks, spoofed caller IDs, even databases of potential targets, all available on Jinbi channels.
So the platform is actually enabling the fraud itself, making it easier for new scam groups to start up and scale. It's like fraud as a service.
Pretty much. Now, here's a really odd twist to the story.
Okay.
Jinbi Guarantee. It's actually registered as a business in Colorado.
Wait, what? In the U.S.?
Yeah, since August 2022. As an investment and capital guarantee group company. There's even a name listed as the registrant Maud Sharulnizam bin Abd Manap.
Huh. That seems brazen. Trying to create a fake air of legitimacy.
That seems to be the idea, even though it's just a shell, really. It's listed as delinquent now for not filing reports.
Right.
But initially, that Colorado registration gave promoters this, flimsy excuse to claim it was legit, an American company.
Despite the whole thing running in Chinese and clearly outside U.S. jurisdiction.
Exactly. It's almost comical if it weren't so serious.
It just shows how easy it can be to misuse corporate registration systems, doesn't it? That paperwork clearly meant nothing about their actual operations.
Authorities are aware to some extent. Telegram did take down thousands of Jinbi and Huoyin channels after Elliptic published its findings.
Okay, so some action from the platform itself.
Which is significant, hits their visibility. But is it a permanent fix?
Probably not. Cutting off the channels is one thing, but the network itself, that's harder. Whack-a-mole, maybe?
Seems likely. And the U.S. Treasury, FinCEN specifically, they designated Huan, the other big player based in Cambodia, as a primary money laundering concern back in March.
Right, essentially blacklisting them from the U.S. financial system. So regulatory pressure is mounting too.
It is, but the experts looking at this, they warn that these actions, while necessary, don't solve the underlying problem.
Which
this
types?
whole informal kind of China-centric underground banking system that's sprung up.
Ah, built on stable coins, QR codes, and these social media escrow things we've been talking about.
Exactly. It allows money to flow across borders really easily with very few checks, which appeals to criminals, obviously.
But also maybe to regular people just trying to get around capital controls in certain countries.
That's part of it, too. Yeah. So it's a much bigger, more complex ecosystem.
And just taking down Telegram channels won't dismantle that whole system. You need a more coordinated approach, right? Regulators, exchanges, the chat platforms themselves.
That seems to be the conclusion. So the big takeaway here is pretty stark, isn't it?
Yeah.
Jinbi Guarantee is this, really powerful example of how everyday apps, things you use without a second thought, can become home to these enormous criminal operations, moving billions and offering crooks a convenience that, disturbingly, rivals legit online shopping.
That blend of the mundane and the massively illicit is quite something. It definitely raises questions for you, the listener, about digital safety and regulation going forward.
So just to recap, we've seen the shocking scale of this Telegram marketplace, the crazy variety of illegal stuff on offer.
Yeah, from fake IDs to Starlink terminals to actual threats.
Its direct ties to major cybercrime, even state-sponsored groups, that bizarre Colorado registration.
The thin veneer of legitimacy.
And the huge challenge in actually stopping it, because it's part of this bigger, harder to pin down underground financial network.
Which brings us to a final thought for you to consider. If it's this easy for these multi-billion-dollar criminal marketplaces to pop up on platforms we all use, what does that mean for the future?
Right. How does law enforcement even begin to tackle this? How do you regulate these huge digital spaces effectively?
And maybe more personally, how do you protect yourself from the ripple effects? Because these underground economies, even hidden in plain sight, they do have real-world consequences. It's that tricky balance, isn't it, between open, accessible platforms and preventing their misuse on such a massive scale. Something to think about.